a good evening and a restful night, and that you are now in a great shape to participate in our second day of the conference. It will be a busy day with 14 presentations, and it will end with what we are all looking forward to, the macro trend prize ceremony at 4 o'clock. But before we start with the first session of today, let me make a short announcement. We have just learned that Germinal Van will not be able to present his paper entitled A Mathematical Theory of Economic Growth this afternoon at 2 o'clock. And because now we have only one paper left in session 7, that is a paper of Ninov Yuli on alternative Austrian capital theory, we will move Ninov's papers to the next session, session 8, which will start then 20 minutes earlier. That means it will start at 2:40 instead of 3 o'clock. And so that means we have a little bit longer break for lunch. But I think it makes sense. I don't know if Ninov is already attending now the conference. I don't see him on the... Ninov, are you here? Yes, you are here, Ninov. Would it be okay for you if you present your paper maybe about 20 minutes later in session 8, because your companion presenters, Germinal, is not able to present his paper. So I propose you present your paper at 20 to 3. That would be okay for you?
I had muted the microphone in order to...
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay, that's okay. So I will, okay, that's perfect, yeah. Excellent. So now if it's everything I wanted to tell you before we start. Now it's my pleasure, Professor Martinez, to give you the floor for the first session of today.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Romain. I hope that we have at least the same sessions that we have yesterday, in which we had a nice presentation, very interesting presentation, and very nice debates, you know. Today, I had, I think, one of the most interesting sessions, because we are going to start to analyze the entrepreneurship, that I think that is one of the most important aspects of the Austrian economy tradition, you know. This session is Entrepreneurship 1, you know, and we will have 3 very nice, very interesting presentation. One of them is the positive influence on entrepreneurship and Austrian analysis from Arthur Marion Seolin, a former student. The second one, it could be led by Eduardo Velasco from the London School of Economics, and the title will be Bringing the Gap Between Practical and Scientific Knowledge, Qualitative Methods as an Aid for Logical Deduction in Austrian Economics. Is probably the most mathematical, you know. And finally, but not so better than the other ones, you know, is from Pablo Yusta, the Universidad Rey Juan Carlos, and the title of the exposition will be The Austrian School and Value Investing, an Approximation. Okay, we start. Everybody has 15 minutes, and we will have also 5 minutes for the debate. And we will start with the presentation of Arthur Marion Seolin. Arthur?
Hi, Professor.
Hi. Can you put your camera? Can you connect your presentation?
Yeah, let me see.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and you, how are you?
How are from Brazil?
Oh, it's fine. It's 5 a.m. here right now, but okay.
Are you working very much, or are you improving the beaches?
No, no, just working right now, but okay. I think they are going to close the country after the elections we have in next weekend.
Yeah.
Like government, you know, two elections, they don't have coronavirus, but later they are going to close the country again. It's a shame, but people nowadays behavior like I don't know, like cattle. So we need to
It's a complex
protest. But
situation. It's very
yeah,
difficult. You know,
okay,
the pandemic is one of the main problems that we have in the world just now. Okay, Arthur, please,
okay. Let me see.
come on.
Hi there.
You
How are
have the
you?
floor.
Good. How are you?
Fine. And you?
Good. I thought I was going to be late, but you haven't started.
Yeah.
No,
Let
don't
me
worry, Brett. Please, come on with the presentation. We have time, and we have also time for the debate and for the personal presentations. Come on, Arthur, please.
Okay, let me see. I am already sharing my
You know how to do it.
yeah. Let me see. Just a problem happened here. Okay.
You can put whole screen. It will be better.
Yeah, of course.
In order that
So
everybody can follow you more
okay,
comfortable, you know, because if you have the whole screen, it's easier to follow you.
it's in whole screen right now.
No, no, no.
Happened. Let
You
me
have
see.
an icon, you know. Yes, I can see, but under the Austrian macroeconomics, under the title, you know, in the right, you have an icon. Yes, yes, there.
Now it's okay.
Okay, perfect. Come on.
Okay. So first place, it's a pleasure to me for me to present in the so important conference as this one. My presentation is entitled The Positivist Influences on Entrepreneurship and Outcome Analysis. I'm Arthur, as I was presented by Professor Martinez. In first
Arthur,
place,
just only one point. If you are so kind, if you can tell us more or less the guidelines of your your curriculum vitae, in order to know.
okay, I was like a student of in the last year of the master in Austrian economics at King Juan Carlos University, and right now I was approved to the PhD at the same university. And more than that, I work as a portfolio manager, sorry, in Brazilian stock market. So, to make an introduction in first place, as we well know, positivist influences in social sciences are notorious, not just in economics, but also in management. Frederick Taylor, the creator of the so-called scientific management, was influenced by positivism and its physical approach, basically engineering. It, as a consequence of this influence, it generated some distortions on market analysis because of its static and engineering methodology. And in this sense, the present article objectives to analyze how positivism influenced the entrepreneurship and also to propose an Austrian approach to the entrepreneurial processes. The presentation is structured in three parts. In the first one, I'm going to present what's entrepreneurship. In the second one, I'm going to present how positivism influenced entrepreneurship. And the last one, I'm going to talk about the entrepreneurial environment and the required corporate skills based in an Austrian approach. About entrepreneurship, it's important to understand, before we understand what is entrepreneurship, to understand what is entrepreneurship. And in Austrian theory, we see entrepreneurship as a function.
Arthur,
Okay.
Arthur, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that your full screen mode is only visible for you. I do not see the full screen mode. I see your first slide. And I think it's better to go back to the editing mode. And yes, and to go from there. I had the same problem.
Brett, I don't know, but it's not a general problem. I can see perfectly.
But can you
Because
see
I
all the
didn't see
slides?
Okay,
anything.
stop it.
I
Sorry.
saw your chat, but probably it's a question at your computer. I am seeing perfectly. Yes, just now.
Okay,
It's
you are
already in the screen.
it's everything okay?
Yes,
Yes.
I can see perfectly. Probably is a problem. Romain, can you see the presentation?
Now,
Yes.
because it's in editing mode, but
Yes, it's the same for me. I can see it, but not in the full screen, but that's okay.
Yes, it's the
as
same.
long as
I can see in full screen, yes, but I can see the presentation, yes.
It's
But
not in full screen.
But as long as we see the slides, it's more important to see the slides than if you see the slides, that's okay. I mean,
yes, I think so.
it was not the case before.
Yeah.
yes, that's what I wanted to say. Okay.
Okay.
Come on, carry on.
So, as I was saying, there are different views inside this approach that entrepreneurship is a function. For example, there is the Kirchnerian approach that deals with alertness, and I don't see as the best fitted to understand the markets, because the Kirchnerian entrepreneur is an ideal type that doesn't risk anything. It's more like an anthropological explanation. Of course, that we understand that human actions have an entrepreneurial nature, but it doesn't make that all men are entrepreneurs. So, what characterizes an entrepreneur? The entrepreneur is the one that makes the ultimate decisions of investment. He makes the judgmental decisions, always linked to profits and losses, and more specific, they make the original judgment, and they delegate to their employees the exercise of the derived judgment. About entrepreneurship now, entrepreneurship can be defined as the entrepreneurship in existing organizations. So it's the exercise of derived judgment related to the creation of new business ventures. We must not confuse it with innovation. And as an important part of it, it's the encouragement by the top management through the delegation of the judgment. It's important to know, to quote that judgment is delegated to a chain inside organizations. In first place, the entrepreneurs delegate from the original judgment to the top managers, and the top managers delegate to entrepreneurs the creation of new ventures, and entrepreneurs delegate some of the tasks to selected employees that have the skills to develop these ventures. Now that we could understand a little about entrepreneurship and what is judgment and derived judgment and its exercise, I would like to present what are the most important positivist influences on entrepreneurship. And here I bring three major points: the quantitative objectivism, the static efficiency, and the social engineering. About the quantitative objectivism, it's related to a mathematical trend, not just to understand laws and functions, but also to predict the future. A trend that forgets that human actions are subjective and that uncertainty is inexorable. And it influences the entrepreneurial process because new business ventures can be modeled and can be understood as physical actions. We can't know everything about what we are going to create. The opportunities are not given, they are going to be created while men are acting. So if we work with a full objectivism, like neoclassical objectivism, it's going to it's not going to support the creation of new business ventures because they can see the future, they can understand what's going to happen. And it's so relevant to talk about this objectivism that even some economists say that research and development must be in governmental hands, as they can't understand what's going to happen in the future and how men create in the market. About the state efficiency, it's important to quote that positivism adopted the physical efficiency, static and engineering, the reduction of the efficiency problem to a problem of maximization. In entrepreneurship, it affects the ventures evaluation, like trying to predict the future and forgetting that the future is to be made. Positivists see the new ventures creation as expensive, not profitable, because they just try to analyze in a static way the efficiency of these projects. They don't see in the future and what's going to be in a dynamic way, what's going to happen. So a lot of time, most times they don't support entrepreneurship precisely because in their static view about efficiency, it's not profitable. As the last major influence, I bring the social engineering. If the markets have an objective nature, managers become the perfect technicians with the precise knowledge to maximize the social output. In the positivist approach, managers are the engineers that control the resources, including human resources, to generate profits. And in a world of perfect knowledge, they can model and control everything inside the organization, including the future with the old-fashioned strategic planning. And as they control everything and manage everything inside the companies, how could they then provide the conditions to create new ventures? More than that, if the managers deal with the human resources as engineer deals with machines, with given opportunities, why would they need entrepreneurial creations? They just need to maximize, make calculations, and build structures that design the future of the companies, as they were superheroes. Now passing to the last part of the work about corporate skills and the entrepreneurial environment. I bring here 4 major skills: adaptability, flexibility, and organizational learning, the decentralization that Mises called the intellectual division of labor, and a new strategic view, and the organizational culture as a social process. About adaptability, if the market is a continuous process of adjustments that occur while men are acting, no one can control everything. So we need to adapt ourselves to the market reality. We don't know how the future will be. We just can make some pattern predictions. And in entrepreneurship, as the new ventures can be modeled and are a result between the interaction of the companies, their employees, the consumers, and other stakeholders, the companies need to be able to adapt themselves to the new market conditions. We here have something like, for example, serendipity that affects the discovery of new opportunities, and like companies need to be have adaptability to profit from these opportunities. About decentralization, entrepreneurship requires the delegation of the judgment in the organizational structure, the decentralization of the control. because knowledge is always dispersed, and decentralization improves the use of the knowledge related to specific conditions. As we also already know, we call it's the entrepreneurial knowledge. And more than that, it's important to quote that decentralization doesn't kill the role of the entrepreneur. He continues always to exercise his original judgment. About a new strategic view, companies must change their strategic management, excluding the old strategic planning based on positivism, because companies can't control the future and model what's going to happen. They just have access to some bits of knowledge. And in a competitive, changing world, the enterprise must see the strategy as a continuous process of management, adopting one strategic view that is through the process of management, manage in the better way to achieve the corporative objectives. And as the last one, the culture, organizational culture as a social process. If we reject the pure design in management and in all social sciences, we also deny that the organizational culture arises as someone's desire, as, I don't know, a company CEO desire. And as the social arrangements are built while men act, they are a result of social process that fit in the best way available all the different efforts, wants, and knowledge, in which the companies are built through a combination between the different desires and the skills of the entrepreneur and his team, maximizing the creative capacity of the members of the team. As a concluding remarks, to finish my presentation, I would like to say that the article attempted to understand the influences of positivism in entrepreneurship and how can we build a new Austrian approach to the subject. We could see that the objectivism, the aesthetic efficiency, and the social engineering, three central characteristics of the modern management, disturb the development of an entrepreneurial environment. And in the other hand, with the Austrian subjectivist and dynamic approach, companies can improve their environment and generate higher levels of entrepreneurial creation. It's that. Thank you for the opportunity. I know that it was like three parts, so it's little space to present each one, but we need to deal with like this little space and time we have here.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, I think that the subject is very important. This question of the entrepreneurship, intra-entrepreneurship, you know, is probably one of the aspects that is not analyzed in detail in our school. And I think that this analysis in the effects of the positive doctrine of the intra-entrepreneurship, perceiving how the influence and development and the policies of the internal entrepreneurship processes is very interesting, because you had also proposing one alternative approach based in the Austrian methodology that is quite important, you know. And I think that you had done a very interesting presentation, because you had seen also the entrepreneurial essential concepts and defined the intra-entrepreneurship. You know, you had done this important approach. And also it had been very interesting to see how you had discussed the positive influence and distorts in the entrepreneurial process, you know. And finally, your last key analysis of the factor that had influence in this intrapreneurial process. It's a language problem, you know, this word, you know. I think that it's a very interesting presentation, and you had put from the Austrian tradition a aspect that is the entrepreneurship, you know. Okay, we have time for questions, for the debate. Brett, come on, carry on. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Arthur, I want to congratulate you with your paper. I enjoyed it very much because I think that the distinction between the state and the market very often is artificial. There are bureaucrats in companies as well that objectify people, that treat them like machines. And so the tendency towards more subjectivism is also a tendency towards appreciating the person as an individual. And so in your paper, this has come to the fore very, very well. And that is why I can tell you that you have been nominated for the Macrotrends Prize. I cannot tell you which prize you will get. There are 3 prizes, but at least you are in the finals. So this afternoon, we will say who won it, but you have been nominated. Thank you for your paper.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, it's like a big pleasure to be a part of Macrotrends Prize. And I would like to thank you for your, I don't know how to say it in English, but to initiative to create the prize, that it's important to create and develop our Austrian economics in academic terms, not just in internet, as we see nowadays on YouTube, but always also in academy, to create more and produce more papers and more knowledge. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Brett. More questions about the paper, about the presentation, about this interesting concept of the entrepreneurship? No more questions? Okay. Arthur, thank you very much indeed for your excellent presentation. To choose a topic like that open the research in the human action and in the entrepreneurial subject in more wide way, you know, because everybody normally study the differences between the entrepreneurship in the 2 fields, the Schumpeterian field and the Kirchnerian fields. And you go further in this research, in this analysis. I think that is very important. Thank you very much indeed for your paper, and I hope to join in few times that this pandemic pass quickly, you know, and we will have the possibility to join together. Thank you very much indeed.
Of course, I hope so. I need to go back to Spain, but like Spanish government doesn't allow me, and Italian consulate doesn't allow me to make another passport, because it's not an urgency to go there. It's like so stupid. We are like animals in a cattle ranch. I don't know how to say it, but it's so disgusting to see how people are going right now and liking to be controlled by government. It's so stupid.
Okay. I know. You will be always very welcome. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, now we have another very interesting presentation. The person will be Eduardo Blasco from the Department of Methodology of London School of Economics. And the title of the presentation, the title of the paper, is Breaking the Gap Between Practical and Scientific Knowledge, the Qualitative Methods as an Aid for Logical Deduction in Austrian Economics. Okay, Eduardo, can you join with us? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, you are so kind, please make your introduction, because I didn't receive your CV on time, you know. You
yeah.
can do it, please do it.
Of course. I have to
And start your
apologize for that.
presentation. The floor is
Yes.
yours.
Thank
You
you.
can open the screen in order to avoid the problems that Brett said. Please click 2 times over the picture and probably it open automatically.
Can you see the screen? I'm sharing it now. Can you see it?
It's much better.
Well, okay. So my name is Eduardo Velasco. I hold a bachelor's degree in political science and in law, and also a master's of science in social research methods from the London School of Economics. And so what I'm doing here, I changed the title of my presentation, but it is fine, just to make it more clear what I'm doing with my project. And I'm currently also a student of the Master in Austrian Economics from the Rey Juan Carlos. So Professor Antonio Martinez is one of my professors at the moment. And yeah, so if I can start with my presentation, can you guys see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm doing is this is not a quantitative way of studying Austrian economics or any economic phenomena, but rather a qualitative methodology. So it was inspired by Emily Wright's work from the George Mason University. What she does is she carries out interviews to entrepreneurs and ethnographic work to study economics and social phenomena. So what I did is I was inspired by her work and some of her colleagues to do my work, and here we have it. So first, I'll explain how to mix Austrian economics and qualitative methods, particularly interviewing. I'm not so concerned with ethnography. I don't think that could work. I'm just gonna make the case for interviews as a tool for Austrian economics. Also, what I did, I interviewed 10 entrepreneurs regarding theories of value, prices, and wages. What I wanted to do was interview them and see what their mental models look like, if they resemble more the theories, the objective theory of value or the subjective theory of value. Meaning, I interview them, I ask them how they set prices, how they set wages, where they think value comes from, so I can have an idea of, okay, so value is objective or not, it's subjective. What do entrepreneurs think? How do they think they set prices? Because they have local knowledge, they're the ones setting the price, right? So I wanted to know if they had an explicit theory of how they did it, and if not, I kept asking them until they reached their conclusions. So I'm also gonna present my research design and the methodology that I follow, the analysis and discussion of finally some conclusions. So first of all, I want to say that interviews are neither a substitute for logical reasoning nor an essential tool for praxeologists. I think you can be an amazing praxeologist, an amazing Austrian economist without needing interviews. I just think interviews are a great tool that we can use, and maybe we should for some topics, to see how entrepreneurs think, what their mental models look like. Why? Because they have local knowledge. They have what Professor Huerta is what they call tacit knowledge, and they have to transfer that every day into scientific knowledge. They have to decide, even unbeknownst to them, they have to decide how to set prices. Every day they have to decide if they are going to keep the same price, if not, how they're going to, if they hire someone new, how they're going to pay them. That is something that they have to deal with every day if they're entrepreneurs and business owners. So I wanted to know how they think all of these processes work, what idea they had, and if that looked anything like what the Austrian theory of value says. I think it is complementary to deductive reasoning. So I think any of my conclusions have to be checked and read with the theory by your side. So I don't think this is a standalone tool. I think you also need to use your logic as a researcher, as in a professor or as an academic to read the interviews and see, hey, this makes sense, this does not, because maybe they're not making logical reasoning, maybe they're not acting what we'll say logical, maybe they don't really know why they are doing that. So I think if any step of the way of their explanation does not make sense, we should be able to say, we should be able to say, this doesn't make sense, so we should discard that. That is part of us. So we cannot leave the interviews by themselves. We have to analyze them as the praxeologists that we are supposed to be. So again, where I diverge from previous work similar to mine is that I do not believe we can analyze local knowledge. Chamberlain Wright, Soar, and others from the George Mason University carry similar work to mine, but they do think they can analyze local knowledge. They ask interviewers about precise questions of how did they say this price, or why does X cost this or that much. I don't think that this is of any use to us. They follow an hermeneutic approach. I don't think this makes much sense. I make a critique of hermeneutics in my paper, and why I don't think it makes much sense, because if there is no truth, well, the same proposition of hermeneutics does not make sense. It's not supposed to contain any truth, right? So why did I pick theories of value to do this work? Because it is a pretty clear-cut case. I think it is pretty stated in literature, and especially in Austrian literature, that value is subjective. I don't think there is any doubt about it. So I wanted to make the easiest case to make the strongest case for interviews, meaning I wanted to do something that we have no discussion about the conclusion. It is clear that value is subjective, right? So knowing that, how can I make a clear and a walkthrough of how to interview people and how to get there and how to compare their conclusions, their answers, entrepreneurs' answers to what the theory says, see if they match. So in my paper, I explain the objective theory of value, particularly Marx's law of value, because it is the one that follows the logical implications of value being objective, and then the subjective theory of value, especially, of course, Austrian theory of value. I took into consideration von Bauer's criticism to objective theory of value, and I took that into consideration for my inclusion criteria of my entrepreneurs that we will see later. And then I discussed the implications of value being objective or being subjective. For my research design, what I did was I found 10 entrepreneurs with the following criteria to make sure I have an homogeneous sample. So first, they had to be business owners, of course. I decided that they had to have more than 20 years of experience. That this is a completely arbitrary number. I decided it was 20 because it seemed like a good amount of years of experience for them to have an idea or to have the thought about how they set prices and why. To have some, to be employers, meaning to have people employed. So, because I also wanted to know how they set wages, right? It looked more what the Austrian theory says about wages or what the Marxist theory says. Then they all had to be commodity sellers. They all had to sell commodities because according to Marx, objective theory of value applies to commodities. So similar production times. Yes, not to have any objections from the objective theory of value that production times are different, and if they differ too much, then you cannot compare how prices are set from one good to another. And also to come from distinct capital intensity. So I could say that it is not because all require the same capital intensity and also meaning the same amount of hours of labor, but having different industries to compare. What it did was what the literature calls convenience sampling. I followed people that I knew, I contacted them personally, and I follow an unstructured interview method, meaning I had 5 basic questions, mainly inclusion criteria questions. And also I asked them that's as simple as how do you set the prices for your goods? And it was an unstructured interview. When they answered that, I kept asking them more and more and inquiring deeper and deeper just to have a better answer and to be able to go into their mind, so to speak, and to be able to see what their mental model looked like. And also the same for wages. I asked them, how do you set wages? How do you decide how much you're going to pay your employees? Oh, for example, I pay them as much as they bring to the table. Well, what does that supposed to mean? Do you pay them this much, or do you have a way to calculate that, or do you do that case by case? Things like that, until I got to the exact point of like as precise as possible. And also at the end of each interview, I explain them what the objective theory of value says and what the subjective theory of value says, and I ask them again, now that you know both theories, which one do you think is correct? And well, I got interesting answers. So this was my model answer. This was the perfect answer. If I got this answer, I was completely happy from one side or the other. Meaning, how do you set prices? I set prices depending on the production cost needed. I was like, then I would have checked, okay, this person thinks the objective theory of value is true. Their mental model resembles more to that of the objective theory of value. The longer my employees need to work to produce it, the higher I determine the price. Okay. And how do you set wages? I pay them, their employees, enough to live to cover their necessities. Okay, so the theory of exploitation has to be correct. And same for the Austrian theory. And I also follow a deductive approach. Of course, I had the two theories and I had to deduce from them. And I follow what is called thematic analysis that I'll show in the next slide. Also, if I had, I'll explain that in the results. So this is what my appendices look like. This is a transcript. So this is how you code interviews. So this is the transcript of the interview. And then I use different codes. I color code it and use, this is the code to know what each fragment of information meant. So depending on your responsibilities, attitude, this is how they set prices. So wage based on skills. And then I had a code book with the themes. The two themes were, of course, each theory, the objective theory of value being one theme and the subjective theory of value being another theme. And then I use categories, as this is pretty standard for interviews. And for the thematic analysis, I explain each category, what it meant, and I put some examples. And then for my results, I got answers defending both theories. I got answers that support both the objective and the subjective theory of value. That's what I was explaining. But when I inquired them, they all look way closer to the subjective or Austrian theory of value. For example, I could ask someone, how do you set the prices for your goods? Someone was a butcher, own a butcher store. So how do you set the prices for your meat? How do you say how much you're going to sell this hamburger for, or 1 kilogram of each meat for? Oh, for as much as it cost me to produce it and to receive it, and transportation costs and so on. Okay, and why did you decide to sell this type of meat and not Wagyu meat or some expensive meat? Okay, because if I sell Wagyu meat in the middle of Spain, I'm not gonna sell much. So if I do that, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose money. Okay, so do you think that first of all you need to think where you're going to sell, and up to how much do you then decide the cost of your production? Well, and they will say, yeah, of course. First, I have to have an idea of the market. I have to see how much I can, how many costs I can incur to decide if I'm gonna produce X or Y. Okay, so
Eduardo, I don't want to interrupt you. 1 minute, please.
Okay, sure. Then I got an answer that I will feed into the subjective theory of value. And when I asked both theories, when I told them both theories explicitly, they all answered that the subjective theory of value. These are some examples of some answers that I got. And seeing that I only have 1 minute left, I got, well, the conclusions. First of all, was a conclusion that we all knew, and it was intrinsic in value being subjective. So not so much about my interviews and my proposal for a new tool so much, but that empiricism is futile. So calculation is impossible if value is subjective, which it is. And then what I got is that interviews provide a great tool for praxeologists to compare and to have an idea. Say we don't know, we want to study a catalytic phenomenon, and we don't know where to start. Well, I'd say let's interview entrepreneurs and see their logical reasoning, and then we can try to look for flaws in their logical reasoning. That'll be much easier for us. That will give us a base upon which to continue our work. And I'd say this could be really interesting to apply to another topic, such as the Austrian business cycle theory. Why? We can ask investors what were their incentives, how they thought the way they did, why they invested in X and not in Y. If we can ask them if this or that interest rate gave them an incentive to do X or Y, we can ask them that, and we can have a more secure answer and a more secure or more base or principle theory on why investors act the way they do. And that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I think that this subject of to introduce interviews with entrepreneurs as a common practice in the Austrian school, it can be useful in order to obtain this subjective knowledge from entrepreneurs. But I don't see clearly how this kind of methodology can be combined with the praxeology, no? Because the praxeology and the human action is a dynamic methodology, you know, but the using of these interviews is a more statistical view, I can interview several different entrepreneurs, you know, but we can obtain from these interviews a general scope of a human action, of a, how do you say, practical function in the real world, in the real economic entrepreneur world.
Oh, sure, that is, I agree with you, and that is why I reject what others have done before me regarding this topic. I don't think, I think what we should look for is outsourcing logical reasoning, so to speak, instead of doing it ourselves as praxeologists, as entrepreneurs. Hey, you have thought about this because you're working in this industry for 20 plus years, so you must have thought about how to do this or that. Then instead of me sitting down and thinking, oh, how do entrepreneurs do that, do X or Y, I can just ask them and then start working from that. So yes, it is basically, sorry.
This idea to combine this statistical method, you know, because at the end is one statistical method. I made interviews, you know, to some specific entrepreneurs, you know, and to derive from this a subjective knowledge is quite different, you know. The subjective knowledge is a atmosphere in the entrepreneurship sector, you know. And when I am interviewing individual people, I think that it's quite difficult to obtain a vision, a complete mission, no? You know, what do you think about it?
Oh, sure. That is why I don't think we should take any of my results for the first value. I think we think. Oh, there is some example.
Please. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. I don't think we should take any of my results at face value. I think we should analyze them. And I don't see any difference between any of us sitting down and trying to develop a theory from scratch. Yeah. Yes, out of what we see, out of what our implications of the human action, then asking someone, hey, how do you think this works? I feel I might be wrong, but I feel it's pretty much the same. It's just outsourcing our logical reasoning.
Yeah. I take the point, but my point of view was that a interview is a frozen picture, you know, and the subjective knowledge is a dynamic concept. I agree with your point of view, but the question is that we didn't have the complete paper, and it's very difficult to understand exactly what do you mean, you know, but thank you very much indeed for the presentation. Okay, we have time for questions. Fred, I saw you that you are putting and grasping your head and have you any questions?
I always have questions, but I think when talking about praxeology on the one hand, and then what you are doing with these interviews, I don't think there has to be a contradiction. And the only thing Mises actually wanted to do was to put the starting point of analysis not with the whole, but with the individual.
Yeah.
But he never said that we could not use auxiliary hypothesis.
Yes.
To be able to deduct the praxeological theorems, we need empirical material. But what he did not want was to construct theory from only empirical material, just as the neoclassics do.
Yeah.
So I don't see a contradiction in the work of Edgar. It's Edgar, isn't it? Eduardo, sorry.
Eduardo.
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't see a contradiction. I think.
But you don't believe that one interview is a frozen picture of a particular moment. It's a start. I think so. It's a part of the debate. It's not one opinion.
You can have the most beautiful axiom in the world.
Yeah.
But if you do not have some empirical material, if
Yeah.
only to have a hypothesis, you cannot do anything. It's only always the two sides, and this is the balance Mises brought. Neoclassics are not interested in the individual; they only have empirical material.
Yeah.
So if Eduardo would only do interviews, I would say, well, be a Keynesian, but he's not a Keynesian.
Yes. Okay. 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 Some more questions? Nobody is interested in this interview method to increase the capacity to understand the entrepreneurial mentality, the entrepreneurial vision.
I think it's about illustrating, right? You use basically inductive or empiric data, historic data to show that in the real world, in the real world, the a priori praxeologic approach works. As we always highlight the importance of entrepreneurial individualism and entrepreneurial creativity, I think it's very important that especially the Austrian school actually also refers to what the individual entrepreneur thinks and does, but basically only to illustrate the validity of our praxeologic approach in this specific point in time, in this specific analyzed topic, obviously, but basically it's an illustration from a very specific point in time to validate for this specific case the validity of the praxeologic a priori approach.
Yeah, yeah, but that is clear that many times the practical sciences are sometimes in contradiction with the Austrian tradition. I think that this is a very interesting topic for the debate, you know. The problem that I told to Eduardo, that it had not sent the complete paper, and it's very difficult to understand exactly what does it mean in the whole, in the idea, no? But I think that the paper, the presentation had been a very good presentation. I congratulate you, Eduardo, and thank you very much indeed for this job.
Can
Please, yes, come on.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. I think I sent the paper. If you guys did not receive it, I don't know. I can send it again, or I don't know what to do because
we didn't receive your paper. We didn't receive your CV. We didn't receive your ficha de clase. We didn't receive anything from you.
Yeah, I know about the CV and the ficha de clase, but I thought I sent the paper 2 weeks ago. But I can take that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Anyhow, okay. Come on, the next presentation. We have the next presentation is Pablo Justa, one of the best students. He had been working with us last course, you know, and Pablo is going to make the presentation about the Austrian school and the value investing and approach. This is not a paper, it's a doctoral thesis, you know, and I think that we will enjoy it because it's a very new subject and it made a very interesting application to the real world of the entrepreneurship and the real world of the finance. Okay, Pablo, where are you?
Hello.
How are you? Can you put your camera, please?
I think I have my camera, but I don't know if you can see.
It's already done. Perfect. You look very well with the flag behind you, the Spanish flag. Okay, it is a very official presentation. Okay, you have the floor. Come on. You are very welcome.
Okay, thank you for the kind words, Antonio. First of all, I would like to thank you not only for being the moderator of this panel, but also for being the director of my master thesis. That, okay, this presentation that I am doing now, this article, is based on that master thesis. So I think the result was good, and you are part of it. So thank you very much. Second of all, I would like for everybody in this conference, when we are doing a presentation on PowerPoint, the thing that we have to do is first we open the PowerPoint in our computer, then we go to Microsoft Teams, and we click in share content. Then we open the like me right now. Right now you are watching the PowerPoint, right?
Perfect.
So instead of going to the slide presentation mode, we are going to change the slide from here, from the editor. And right now everybody is watching that I am changing the slide.
Yeah.
So in this way, everybody is following the same slide than us, because if we click in the presentation mode, the presenter is going to see the slide changing, but the rest of the people are going to stay in the first slide. Yep. So that was all. So good morning, buenos días, guten morgen to everybody. Before starting, I have to say another thing. Sorry for the introduction, but thank you to everybody that is organizing this Congress. Not also for all the organization that it means, but this year we had this coronavirus crisis, and it was really difficult to change all the schedule, to change how it was going to be done. So congratulations to everybody that is part of the organization, and we, the speakers, we really appreciate it. So right now I'm going to start. I think I have been checking, we are more than 50 people watching this conference. So I just can say that I feel really glad for having this opportunity. I hope to say things that are interesting for everybody. If not, let me know also. So let's start with the beginning. I know that here in the attendance there are some people that are not used to know about economics, about finance, because they studied other fields, or they are not really interested. So I want to start from the beginning. So the beginning of all of this value investing, an Austrian school and approach, and all of this is, what can you do with the money that you earn? Imagine that we have an income, we have a wage, a salary. What can we do with this earn? Basically, we can do two things. First of all is we can spend it. And second of all, we can save it. So we can differentiate our income in two ways. First is saving, and the other is spending. I am not a financial advisor, and I will not insist today in the benefits or the necessity of saving, but I am pretty sure that all of you already know it. So the next step is, once we know that we have to save and we have some savings, what should we do with these savings? So this is the first slide. Imagine that we have 100 euros in savings, and we have some options to do with it. Right now, thinking out loud, first of all is, okay, we can put this money in the bank in a deposit, and we can wait. We have the money there safe. Second option, maybe we can take the money in cash, and we can put the cash under the couch. In Spanish, we say to poner el dinero debajo del colchón in our home, like physically. And the third option that we have is to invest it. Yes, here I have the options. So the first option, to put the money in the bank, I think it's not a good idea. And the answer is it is easy. Somebody here that is listening to me likes banks. Somebody, if somebody, he can say, and we can discuss it. But I think that anybody likes banks, and well, it can sound like a joke, but it has a meaning. And then in the question moment, we can discuss it. To put the money under the couch, it is not also it is either a solution, because, for example, imagine that some robber or some thief come to our home and they steal that money. There is a problem with safety, and also there is an economical explanation that if you're interested, we can discuss it in the questions and answer moment. So the third option that we have is investing, and for me and for people that we are familiarized with the financial world, we think it is probably the best option. So what should I say to one of my friends? What should I say to my family? Because they always say, hey, how much money should I invest from the money that I have in savings? With €1 is enough, with 10 euros is enough, with 100 euros is it enough? And the answer is this, that the hardest thing or the hardest task when I start to investing is not the financial planification or how much money per month, is just to start. It's the first $1 or €1 investing budget. When you invest the first euro or the first dollar, the next things, the future in investing, it's much easier. So my recommendation from here is invest. At least €1 is enough, and then the rest of the things will come along. This is a really, really intelligent quote. I am not going to say who was the person who said this quote, but also if you're interested in the questions and answer moment, I will say who was that person. Okay, so now let's say that you trust me and you decide to invest. Let's make an exercise, a mental exercise, and let's put ourselves at the beginning of the year, in January of 2020, before all this crisis and all this bad news arrived. So what should we do with our investment? Well, the example that I wrote is the Nasdaq Composite, that is an index in the United States. It has around 2,500 companies. So it's just to represent the market. So let's say, okay, we're in January 2020. We can see in the slide, in that moment, I didn't say what happened in the future. So we came from 2019, and the trend was amazing, 35% during the year. Everybody would expect that this trend will continue with the time. So yeah, like, okay, I want to invest some money. I trust in Pablo. I think it's a good moment, right? So I might invest. I don't want to be out of the market right now, since the trend is pretty good. And what happened with this person that trusts me and invest? Like in 3 months, in March, he has lost a lot of money in the investment. The fall was around 25%. So the person start to see their savings falling and falling and falling. They start to be panicking. They say, "Oh my God, this has no end." So they decide to, okay, this investing thing is not for me. I will leave the market right now, and they sell with losses. And what happened in the next 3 months? That it starts May, and it starts to increase, and the person is saying, "Wow, I made a really big mistake. Right now, the is at the same level as before, and I have lost all my money because I was not patient. What should I do right now? Should I invest again, because I can see a tendency that is an upside tendency? Should I stay? It is June, so maybe I have right now some holidays. I will go to the beach. I will think there about my investing. So I will decide what to do in September." So then September arrived, and in the summer, during our holidays, another 24% of increase in this index. So September arrived, I arrived home back, and I said, well, yes, I think it is a really good moment to invest again, since the tendency is clear. As we can see, we are going to earn a lot of money. So, okay, let's forget about the past, let's forget about the mistake in March, and let's invest again. And what happened in the next 2 months? A lot of volatility. The indicators in the US, they fall. All the index fall around 10%. Our investment fall again. And then in that moment, I decide, I will not trust Pablo again. I am not good at investing. I have to leave this world right now. Also, the elections of the US are coming. These predictors of what is going to happen, they are saying that if there is not a clear winner, the markets will go down, and I think that there's not going to be a clear winner between Biden and Trump. So I prefer to forget this, leave the market, sell all my position, and forget about it. And what happened? That it happened the worst situation, that is not only that we don't have a clear winner, well, right now I think we have, but it was not clear, but the person that was not leading the voting, he was thinking, demanding the other person. So it was the worst scenario for the election. And what happened? Plus 9%. The person, if he would stay instead of leaving, he would not lose any money at this moment. So what is the face that this person can have? I found this, it's more or less like this, you know, like, this is impossible to know, and I will not trust Pablo again. So this is normal, this is a thing that can happen, and for all of you, I would recommend that you have 2 options. First option, if you want to invest, if you decide to have savings and then to invest, not to have in the bank, we can discuss it later, is you can trust somebody that is a specialist in fund manager, but please trust in that person, not with banks. Nobody likes banks, we said before. Trust in that person. For example, there are really good asset managers here in Spain and in Europe, the US. So trust somebody, check its track record, and give the money to that person, because that person would have a better mentality or more experience in this world. This is the first option. And the second option, that is the thing I am going to talk about, is you can trust yourself and try to invest by yourself. But please, you have to know that you have to dedicate a lot of time. You cannot invest like playing a gambling or something like this. You have to dedicate time. And second, you should rely on a method. So if you are able, or if you are capable to do these 2 things, you can take into consideration the second option. If not, I would recommend you to trust somebody. So this was an introduction to my presentation. So sorry for being long, but I will go fast. This is my presentation, and this is what I did in my paper. The first thing, like I like that my words can be read by anybody, even if it is not an expert in economics, is in the first section, I try to make basic definitions on Austrian School of Economics and value investing. That are the 2 topics I am going to talk about. Austrian economic is more related with economics, like it said in the name, and value investing is more related with finance or investing, the person that are not used to listen to this topic. So the thing I do is I explain in a brief mode, like easily. I did a summary. It was really difficult at first because both are disciplines that are multidisciplinary. They have a lot of different situations, a lot of different ways of study, a different field. So it was really difficult to define Austrian school or value investing in 5 pages or something like this. So the thing I try to do is, first, with the Austrian school, I took into consideration the book of the founder of Karl Menger, the first book ever wrote about this school of economic thought, and I explained the 3 different levels of knowledge, or the 3 different categories of theories. The first was the theory of human action, then the theory of exchange, and then the theory of social institution. Now, in the question and answer moment, if you want me to focus on one point of this presentation, we can go and I can explain briefly. And in the value investing,
just only one point. Excuse me for the interruption, but we have the next session in 5 minutes. You have,
Okay.
I think that it's impossible to conclude everything in 2 minutes, but if you are so kind, try to do it.
Yeah, I will finish in one or 2 minutes, and then the question and answer can be as long as we can.
Okay.
So, and the value investing, I took the intelligent investor from Benjamin Graham, and I explained three concepts. The first was a margin of safety. The second was the Mr. Market paradox or parable, and the third was how the investor should behave like an entrepreneur. There is a really good point of connection with Austrian theory. Also, about these two topics, there is an academic debate. If the person that is watching this is not interested in going through the academia or this academic debate, they can skip this second section. I would love that everybody would watch it, but if you're not interested, you can go directly to this third section. But for the people that are interested in this academia debate, is really interesting point, and it is really useful debate, because there are people that defend the compatibilities of these two theories, and there are other people that defend the discrepancies about these two theories. What I try to do is to take all of the ideas and to put in one chapter of my work. With the compatibilities, I only set them, and with the discrepancies, I also set them, but I try to define how these discrepancies can be more or less important for our debate. So a person that reads the second section can easily understand the moment of the debate, and they can continue it if they want. And the third section, that is the section of investigation, like Antonio said at the beginning, probably it would be a doctoral thesis, is I took 8 theories about Austrian economics, and I explained how they can help us in investing. For example, human action, the theory of human action, can show us how the value of the stocks or the different asset, the financial asset, is determined by or from the human action, from the basic point of the Austrian theory. So it's really interesting for an investor to know this digression for the future investments. Second, for example, the price determination theory, they will show us how the prices in the financial market are formed, understand better how these crazy go up and go down in market prices happen, and there is a theory behind it. And the third and last theory I'm going to talk about, because we don't have more time, is the impossibility of socialism. It can help the investor to be careful when investing in markets or in sectors with a high level of intervention, because in the long term it can be worse for the.
We must go to finish, because if not, believe will kill me.
Yeah,
Just
yes.
only 30 seconds, please.
No, so I finished. The people who is interested in reading these things that I have described, they can write me an email. You have the email there, p.justa.0112 @gmail.com, and they can write me, and I will send the thesis. And I have to say also, for the 20 people or 15 people that send me first an email saying that they want the work, I will also send one copy of the methodology of investing that I use. That I call it the watch list method. So the 15 or 20 people that first send me an email regarding, because they are interested in this topic, I will send also this brief summary of my investment.
Okay.
So thank you very much. And now, if we have time, we can. Yes,
thank you very much indeed. I think that your approach, the most important thing is that you have demonstrated that there is a relationship that is made compatible. The Austrian school and the value investing, both of them are complementary. Thank you very much indeed for your great presentation. We don't have time for more, because at 10:15 we have the next session, the next panel. Thank you very much indeed, Pablo. Thank you very much indeed to everybody, because my chair had been very easy with these three very interesting presentations and the answers and the question that you had put over the table. Thank you very much indeed. And now, Liv, you have the floor.